Two young squads littered with up-and-coming softball talent ready to collide in the CMAX Premier League, with both clubs looking for their first win of the 2022-23 season. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to West Beach, South Australia. It's the Seacombe Tigers and the Hills Heat kicking off a full slate of CMAX Premier League action. I'm Eric Ballard, pleased to be joined by Open Men's State Team player and Softball SA State Operations Manager James Harris, as well as Open Women's State Team National Champion Lana Kaesler. James, Lana, both teams in a bit of an early days of the season, of a bit of a rebuild. At the end of the game, regardless of the score, regardless of what happens, what are teams looking for to feel positive at the end of the day?
I think both teams in the last couple of weeks have had some real big positives in their games, but I would say for both the Hills Heat and the Seacombe Tigers that they're looking to do the basics right, get the basic outs, and really just put the ball in play hard, swing hard, and get the outs when they need to get out of an inning.
Thanks for the intro, Eric. I've also played before, but don't worry about that. The big game today, Seacombe versus Hills. I think with both teams only having one game, both teams still might be trying to find their feet in the season, so it's only their second game of the year. So I think both coaches will be hoping for clean performances in the field, get behind their pitches, and gee, haven't the Hills got a stud pitching for them today?
We will talk lots about her at length. It's the debut of Grace Rickson, but here's a look at the Seacombe Tiger defense. Jazz Blight, one of the up-and-coming stars of the game. She's going to be asked a lot this season to anchor that center field. And Becky Havis, she had that breakout performance in round one of the season. But Bianca Pash, really interesting up-and-coming catcher that going to have a big opportunity in the Premier League this year. Yeah,
Seacombe's not without a couple of big names. You've just mentioned them already. I love the way that Havis went slugging after Jo Grauer, one of the best players in the competition, and she was able to smash one to the fence against her. You mentioned Pash, a young catcher, future of the club right there.
9 players in the last 2 years have left the Seacombe A-grade team. One of them was not Aroa Munro. She's been with the club for a few seasons now. She'll be asked to be a bit more of a veteran present, despite her being quite young in age still. But when she's on, she can get that swing and miss stuff that makes her tricky to face when she's got her A game going.
Yeah, I think we can't count out Arahara in the middle of the circle there. You've still got some good South Australian state players in this Seacombe Tigers side. You've got Becky Havis, who, as James, you mentioned last week, had an absolute stellar performance with the bat and is very stable at first base. Sasha Mutzi's also played, Jazz Blight's also played, and yeah, Arahara in the middle. We've got some state players in the mix here, and you can't count them out. They do know how to play the game well.
Munro did an apprenticeship under Jade Peterson, obviously now at Glenelg. Now she's the ace, so shoulders a little bit more of the weight, but don't forget she made New Zealand's national team for the under-18 tournament that didn't go ahead and was a reserve for the Australian team same year.
Munro's first pitch off to Abby Jorgensen, and we're underway with round 3 of the CMAX Premier League. Here's a quick look at the batting lineup of the Hills Heat.
Jorgensen, Ballard, Rickson is the name that we'll focus on in a moment.
Jorgensen goes swinging in foul territory. Havis having a look, and it just clinks in and out of her glove. Megan Williams batting 4, Georgia King 5, Laura Lamke 6th, Talia LaRosa 7th, and at the bottom of the lineup, Peyton Daniels at 8 and Maddie Rocher at 9. Probably didn't have the seasons they wanted last year, but their upside is quite high. So if you have those two at the bottom of your lineup, it's quite indicative of a very strong team.
7, 8, 9 is super strong. Talia LaRosa, bit of a legend.
Jorgensen just clips it foul.
Yeah, a bit of a legend in the Hills Softball Association, but at West Torrens as well. Lana, she's a multiple premiership player of the final, went over and played in the Netherlands as well, had some success there. So she's pretty solid at 7. Peyton Daniels strong at 8. Maddie Rocher, we know, can get the job done at 9. So good 7, 8, 9 for the Hills.
Yeah, it looks like they've structured their batting lineup with, I guess, more of their speed at the top and then finishing their number 9 with Maddie Rocher, who can and does often get on base and can be a fast base runner for them as well. So having some of their heavy hitters lower in the lineup will hopefully benefit them if they get the base runners on.
Jorgensen last year had a .397 batting average, and she led the team in total bases with 28. She only played 3 more games than Georgia Hood, who is second with 27. So if you're producing that many bases as Georgia Hood, it says something about the caliber of player that you can be. Check swing. She went. It's a drop third strike, but they'll get the out over at first, so the first one is retired, and it's a strikeout for Era Munro.
That was a great battle between Jorgensen and Munro. Lots and lots of pitches seen and had a crack at, and looked like Abby was in there to have a hit, but just sort of misjudged that outside pitch and probably should have had a crack on 2 strikes, but unfortunately is seeing the dugout.
Just keep your eye on Pash. She took a moment to herself after that play. Just wondering if she's may have come up sore after something. I don't know. Maybe it was just getting to the nerves, having a deep breath. But she followed up well. Tipped the glove, followed up, threw her out.
Georgia Ballard, the batter. Yeah, you mentioned Bianca Pash. Just a young softball player. Lots of upside, though, by all reports. Still learning the game to catch at this level. So you'll look for improvement as the season that goes on.
Yeah, like she's setting up half a foot, or half a step, I should say, inside.
Shot over to shortstop. That slips through Vergara's legs, and it is a... Well, I think it will go down as an error, but either way, Georgia Ballard is aboard for the first base runner of the game.
Yeah, just probably didn't stay low enough on that Vergara, but she was in the right positioning for it. But Georgia, oh my God, I keep doing that. Georgia did hit the ball really hard, and as we know, if you do that, you can force some errors in the game.
The debut in the CMAX Premier League of Grace Rickson in the batter's box.
No stranger to these diamonds.
Ball slips away, so it'll be a free base for Ballard. She scampers over to second base. It's a runner in scoring position. Almost caught in a rundown, though. But yeah, Grace Rickson was part of that New South Wales team. She was the breakout player of that Open Women's State or National Tournament that happened.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, won the Rookie of the Tournament and was well-deserved. She could pitch, she could hit, she could do it all. She was impressive to watch.
Absolutely. Then she backed it up in the next week in the under-23s. Finalist in both of those tournaments, and they went a long way because of her.
Ball slips away again, so 2 passed balls on a runner on third base. Georgia Ballard not that far away from scoring. Yeah, the question that the Hills have had to ask since Christmas last year is how do you replace the production of Georgia Hood, which is pretty much an impossible question. She had 487, she had a 623 on base percentage, 11 RBIs. She had 18 walks, Georgia Hood, last year, and had dynamite numbers in the circle. Impossible
so no pressure on Rickson, is that what you're saying?
Well, you got to look for those big-time talents to replace a big-time talent, and Grace Rickson, you'd think, would be a candidate to be that. I know they have an import pitcher coming over.
Grace Rickson can hit a long ball. I've seen it many times.
Lee, if Lee was here, he was scheduled to be on, so hi to Lee if you're watching. The left field is probably in the right spot. She's a little deeper than regulation, but centre fielder and right fielder are both in tight, and Rickson can hit with power.
And can run.
Swing and a miss, so Monroe gets her to chase. When Monroe's mixing up that off-speed well, she gets very difficult to hit.
Started in the A grade, you know, as a mid-teenager, wasn't very old at all, and got blooded into the senior side. I reckon last year's year off's probably done her a world of good in preparation to come in.
This tipped away, and another pass ball on a drop third strike. It scores a run. So it's 2 strikeouts, but 1 run across the board for Hill. So they have an early 1-0 lead, and it's one of the things we talked about early in the broadcast is you got to keep it clean. And so far, a couple pass balls, an error, and it's cost them a run.
Yeah, as a coach, when you look at the scorebook after the end of the game, you don't mind losing if you're giving up green runs, but you hate losing if you've given up more red runs than the opposition.
Bianca Pash, although a couple have gone past her as well in these drop third strikes, I mean, to be able to hustle back to the fence and make a throw to first base.
Twice.
Accurately, twice. And, you know, Becky Havas has done well with her glove work at first base, but she's done a fantastic job to actually stay composed and not pivot to right field. We've seen that happen plenty of times. And the fact that they've got 2 outs for only 1 run at this stage, they've done well.
Megan Williams up to bat. Savvy veteran of the competition. Tip foul. They're not far off though, Seacombe, are they? Just reel it in one way, one bounce goes their way. That's the signs of improvement that they're going to look for from the start of the season to the end of the season as they've rejoined the A-grade competition.
Yeah, just game 2. And they'll keep building with this team. Doesn't look like there's been any changes to the defensive lineup, so if they can keep a solid lineup, they'll build throughout the year.
And she strikes out the side. So Aroha Munro is firing right now. She gets 3 strikeouts, but the error proves costly, and the Hills Heat take an early 1-0 lead. Well, here is how Hills will line up defensively. Abby Jorgensen, Maddie Rocher, and Laura Tamke. They are the anchors of the outfield. Abby Jorgensen, she's got some great range in center field. The infield of Georgia Ballard at third, Megan Williams at shortstop, and Talia LaRosa at second. Peyton Daniels at first. Georgia King will be catching the balls and strikes. Grace Rickson is the pitcher. Seacombe, their batting lineup. Rosa Vergara leads things off. Jazz Blight second. Becky Havas, the one to watch at the 3-hole. Aroa Munro, she does have a bit of power about her at 4, followed by Michaela Pearson. The teenager, Georgia Tompkinson, Ashley Carr, Bianca Pash, and then Sasha Mutzi rounds things out. But the person to watch in the circle, you can see her on screen, Grace Rickson making her CMAX Premier League pitching debut. And what did you see from Grace last year? You would have faced her a couple times probably in the Open Women's.
Yeah, we faced her, I think, in almost every game. We played New South Wales at the Gilly Shield. She throws really controlled off-pace, mainly on the outside of the plate. And for such a young player, she has fantastic control in the circle. What's also really awesome about Rickson is that even if she's down, she might have pitched a walk, she might have just been hit for a home run, doesn't matter. You can't tell. So whether she's struck someone out or she's, maybe walked someone, you can't tell from her face. She's a very, very good, calm pitcher.
That's a great point. Her composure is way more mature than her actual age, and I love the way that she goes about it. She's pretty chilled and relaxed. Chilled, that's a bit of a surfing term, isn't it?
It is. She rides the wave, absolutely.
And, the team is then more comfortable backing her up as well because she's not panicking out there. So, which is going to be great for a young catcher. Georgia King had a rookie season last year. She was definitely in contention for that Rookie of the Year award that Harper Bridley ended up winning. This will do great for Georgia King, who's a junior state representative.
A lot of them have been, really. If you look at most of Hills' lineup, they've got lots and lots of young talent coming through the state ranks.
Rosa Vergara leads things off for Seacombe. Don't forget, Hills are just one season removed, 2 seasons removed now, I guess, of a championship game appearance in the CMAX Premier League, and a lot of those players still involved in the club. The second half of the year, they just struggled to score some runs. They were keeping games close. Vergara goes crack. Base hit. Just the second base hit of the season for the Tigers. They only had 1 in their last game, and it takes 1 batter to get on base today.
She's turned perfectly on that inside pitch, Vergara. She's nailed it straight through the 5-6 hole, and yeah, really just held her hands perfectly for that.
I said it before the show started. I said that the Seacombe team might not fear Rickson because some of them might not even know who she is. First time in the Premier League in a few years. Vergara actually has changed clubs this year as well, so from a different grade and different division. So she's just come in, seen a pitch she likes, and rips into it for a single.
Yeah, really, really nice hit.
Jazz Blight, the batter. One of the leaders of the team despite only being in her young 20s. One of a rare lefty batters in the competition.
Yeah, we don't have many. We don't breed them left, do we? Unfortunately.
She graduated through the Dragons program as well, did a overseas tour to Singapore with her division. So she's got some representative experience.
Ball sails a little high. First ball in the count.
Looks like as well they tried to attempt to bunt a couple times there, just didn't quite make contact. So early 2 strikes on Blight. I'm thinking she's hoping to get a slap down somewhere here to advance the runner.
Big swing from Jazz Blight. So all 4 outs in this game have been by virtue of a strikeout.
It's unheard of.
Well,
Wow.
I think it's been heard of before.
No, you're meant to ride the wave with me. Come on.
Becky Havis. In the Tigers' first game of the season last week, she had 2 runners on after a couple walks, and she got the only hit the Tigers registered in the game, and it was a cracking triple out to left field.
Well, the battery here might have got the mail on that because first pitch was way out on the outside edge. Nothing near the hitting zone for Havis. And this one's up.
It's on the outside edge, though, but for a strike, which is what she's good for. So low and off.
Yeah, well, Rickson's shown a couple of tricks already to Havis. Curveball, first pitch, rise ball, second pitch.
It's a big swing, isn't it?
You probably see a change up this pitch.
James, it's almost like you've been a catcher for your entire career. Look at you just picking pitches. There it is. It's dirty.
Auto out, so it could be a double here. Obstruction on the play at shortstop. Sorry, Eric.
That's okay.
I'm not play-by-play today.
No, that's all right.
Well, 5 outs, 5 strikeouts. And it was a change-up, just in case you missed it.
It was. It was a low changeup. You might get that on the CMAX replay. If there's one, there's no CMAX replay at the moment. We'll get it back up.
It's an interesting situation that happens in that when a first base is occupied with, what's the rule? 1 out.
Less than 2 out.
Less than 2 out. If first base is occupied and there's a drop third strike, the batter is automatically out. The runner does not have to run. Vergara chose to run, and that's why Georgia King made that decision to throw to second base to try and get an out there, but the throw is just a little bit off.
There's a look at that CMAX replay. Want to help advance tomorrow's healthcare and get paid for your time? Log on to cmax.com.au. I've got some great news for our team at CMAX.
Arrow Monroe,
shivers.
Shot to left field. Maddie Rocher moving back. It drops over her head. Monroe, she's got an RBI, and the Tigers have tied this thing up.
Huge shot to left field. First pitch is there to be hit, so she drives it to the DFS sign, the Dental for Schools sign, and Seacombe are proudly sponsored by Dental for Schools.
Well, all I can say to that is, on this replay, that hit is a cowabunga. That is going straight over left field's head, and that is a kahuna of a hit.
CMAX Super Replay shows all of that, and it is a 1-1 ball game. Michaela Pearson steps in. Opportunistic Tigers.
Rickson just dialed it up a notch there on that pitch. That came in quick. Yeah, tying the game.
Michaela Pearson. Whole bunch of Pearsons at this Tigers family at Seacombe. Getting put in an early spot in the middle of the lineup. Her sister Bryony also on the team. Her dad is one of the ACC presidents, and Anthony Pearson.
Yep.
Rickson's gone up and in the last couple pitches, hoping to get her chasing. She's really won that. Oofed.
Catches the edge again. So 6 outs, 6 strikeouts. Both batters strike out the side, but both teams score a run. It's 1-1 after 1 in round 3 of the CMAX Super League. So an entertaining first inning from both these teams.
Absolutely, and you know, they fight and fire with fire as well, aren't they? Seacombe not coming out on the back foot. They're really trying to get after Rickson, and a couple of those swings found the middle of the bat.
Both of these teams will be, these are important games is what I'm trying to get at, because if you take a look at the teams on paper and even based on last year, in our predictions at least, there's probably 3 teams that are going to be fighting for the minor premiership, and that's Sturt, West Torrens, and Port Adelaide. And early in the season, you've seen that so far. then that crucial fourth spot, where if you can get in the finals, you never know what happens. You saw that with Hills a couple years ago, but Walkerville, Seacombe, Hills, and Glenelg, you figured to be fighting for that last spot. Seacombe and Hills both 0-1 to start the season. Both have an opportunity to get some points on the board and make a push towards that top four.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight CMAX Premier League season. Wonder if we'll see some front runners early on, and then whether they'll be caught halfway through the year, or if they'll, the teams at the bottom start to show signs of improvement and then start catching and making that gap just shorter and shorter, and then make it good excitement for the run to the finals.
Sometimes you've seen a few years where you have a team that, as Georgia King cracks it to center field, and it goes in and out of the glove of Jazz Blight. She's a bit twisted up in center field, still down, and now runner making a push for 3. I think Jazz Blight is okay, but Georgia King is standing on third.
Yeah, huge shot. It was a line drive, and it was hit with such force that it almost broke the glove of Blight out there at center field on the CMAX replay.
Some power from Georgia King.
Yeah, big laser beam out there. Potentially just lost it last minute as well, but a really good backup from Georgia Tonkinson at right field to be there for that.
First pitch bunt from Lara Lamke. Retires the out.
Was that meant to be a squeeze? Because I think the runner missed the signal on that one there. It was a really well-placed bunt, if that was the case.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity for the Hills, yeah.
See if we can see it on the CMAX replay.
But a good out. If that was a missed to squeeze bunt, then a good out for Seacombe to get.
The first out that's not a strikeout. Talia La Rosa. Last season, she played a handful of games, appeared in 3 of them. She went 5 for 10 in her games. So here's a look at the CMAX replay.
That would have been a perfect squeeze bunt, absolutely, if Georgia King went full bore, but good play.
So on the squeeze, if you're the runner at third, when are you timing your break on that bunt?
You are leaving as soon as the ball leaves the pitcher's hand, because you are going. It is a death play.
It was like King didn't want to drop in.
Yeah, you're right.
And at home.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the next wave. Talia La Rosa. Flared up in the air. It could be playable. Dropped a little too quickly for...
Unfortunately, the only person catching that foul ball catch is Sarah Tonkin. Punching it into play here. Munro's really trying to force La Rosa on the outside of the plate to hopefully get a ground out here without allowing that run to score.
Swing and a miss. 4th strikeout of the day already for Munro.
She's looking really, really in control in the circle today. Only really given up, one hit, really. A couple potential outs that her other fielding side teammates could have gotten. But she's done the right things. She's gotten the ball into play where she needs to. But, yeah, she's looking quite hot in the circle with those rise ball pitches.
Peyton Daniels. Daniels pushed her way into softball SA stardom, I guess you could say, during that run for Hills into the final. She had a few clutch hits.
That she did.
Watches the pitch up high. Still quite young.
What's really exciting about both of these sides is they often, as you said, most of them wouldn't have played against Grace Rickson, so just having a good swing. But both sides actually often swing without fear, which is something that, softballers can sometimes get a bit clinical in their heads. But both of these sides, they're just having a good old crack when the pitch looks good, which is awesome to see.
Daniels is a former teammate of Munro, so she may have been sitting on that pitch because she really went hard at it, patiently waiting for that one to be in and around the zone.
Ooh. Did the ball stay fair? Nope, went foul.
Nothing more satisfying than when balls right down the line hit the base and it goes doof, and then you hear that sound and you're like, woohoo, that's in territory.
Run away.
Run away. That didn't happen, unfortunately. Two and two count. What's she going to do?
Daniels to the outfield. Blight gathers that in, and the Tigers, who had a runner on third and nobody out, get out of the jam and keep it a 1-1 game.
No one would be more happier that she took that catch than herself, Jazz Blight. No damage in the end for that missed fly ball in the first batter of the inning, Georgia King, as Seacombe deny the Hills. Now, I was mentioning CMAX before, and I can't wait to report back to our broadcast partner, CMAX, that the first softball member to take up a clinical research position. You volunteer your time, and well, you
don't volunteer.
You actually get paid for it. So just helping out in one of the trials, and so we won't mention the person's name, but let's just say that they come up very excited that they got that opportunity. So hopefully, CMAX, you're listening. Return on your investment straight away. Not only are you part of this magnificent broadcast, thanks to Spacequake Sports and Software SA, but we've also had the first member come to us to let us know that they're going to be part of a trial.
Log on to cmax.com.au today to find out how you can get paid and advance medical research. How cool is that? What do you know? It is a 1-1 game. Both teams scored a run in the first. Seacombe got it from a leadoff single from Rosa Vergara and then was eventually brought in by Aroha Munro. An error was costly for the Tigers. That's how the Hills scored their run. But if you just missed it, runner on third on a leadoff crack from Georgia King, and she was stranded at third. So Grace Rickson will go back out for the Hills Heat, going against the teenager Georgia Tompkinson. She can pitch a little bit too, Georgia Tompkinson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she rolled over during the fully loaded season, had a couple innings there, I think.
Oh, it's hard to tell who everyone is when they're not in their
Club uniform?
Well, club or their fully loaded uniforms, to be honest. Few former Thunder players in both of these sides. Unfortunate this year to not take home another win, but, you know.
CPC Angels got over the line this year for the first time. Mark Cramp was there to call the action as well. You loved it.
Becky Havis, who is on this Tigers team, had a pretty good
2 grand slams in the final.
Is that good?
Is that good?
Yeah.
I think it's good. She rode the wave.
Tompkinson patient at bat, and for the second straight inning, the Tigers have a leadoff runner aboard. Ashley Carr, club member that was working hard and working out with some of the lower grades and sort of pushed her way into the Division I side for Seacombe as they're back up in A grade in the CMAX Premier League this year. Tompkinson with a big lead jumps back.
Be interesting to see if they try and manufacture a run here by pushing their base runner around, see if they throw a bunt down. I'm sure Lee would love to see a bunt in this situation.
Well, in a tight game, might call for it.
Especially against someone like Rickson, which if she gets ahead in a count, she's looking to get you out in minimal pitches. Just like minimum chips, minimal pitches she wants to get you out.
Swing and a miss. How's the arm of Georgia King behind the plate?
She's a young gun, and that's why she's there as well. She's club player in the Harndorf Magpies, young catcher in the junior state teams as well. Made an Aussie squad.
Another strikeout for Grace Rickson.
Bit of revenge for that walk, I reckon.
4 strikeouts on the day on debut. Bianca Pash, the catcher for the Tigers, steps in. Still a runner on first. Still time if they want to play a sacrifice.
Gets in early, ahead of the count.
She's catching that outside edge a lot, isn't she?
And it's being called, which, you know, as we know, sometimes the outside or the inside sections of the plate sometimes don't necessarily get called as much, but it is absolutely getting called today, and they probably need to make an adjustment to that.
She's moving it down. She throws one up. Tigers offer at that too, so quickly ahead 0-2 in the count.
A little bit of inexperience in that swing there. It was started on the letters and eyes lit up, and she really got under it.
Ball outside. How does someone like Georgia King go about working with Grace Rickson? Obviously, they don't work together during the week in training.
Yeah, they would have got their warm-up to work together.
Yeah. Oh, but what a great experience playing with someone who has had experience for the Fire Stars.
5 strikeouts for
Oof.
Grace Rickson. 5 outs, 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, for the Fire Starters, and she also went with the development Aussie squad to Canada.
To Canada, yeah. Yeah, she had a very busy off-season.
So she'd be used to dropping in and working with other catchers, I'm supposed to.
Sasha Mutzi at the plate now. Another long-time Seacombe Tiger.
Another one with the Dragons, through the
Yeah.
Dragons program.
We love to see it.
Still trying to work that outside edge, Grace Rickson.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Is that what they say?
Wax on, wax off.
Gets Mutzi to swing through again.
She really is starting to get into her groove, Rickson, in the circle. This is when she starts to become pretty dangerous. Her spins are working. She's starting to get people chasing, ahead in the count early. This is when batters really need to start punching the ball into play early in their at-bats. Oof. That is a nice pitch.
Just miss the inside edge. Yeah, you don't want to let her get into a groove because she'll be a gnarly pitcher to try and get a hold of.
Too right, dude.
Ball in play, but foul. Full count.
She's done a really good job, Mutzi, in this at-bat to watch some good pitches, but she's being aggressive. She's staying in the at-bat, making sure she's battling on that 2 strikes. All she needs to do is punch a ball into a gap here and brings up the top of the lineup again.
Come on, Dad!
6 strikeouts through 2 innings for Grace Rickson. She is carving them up right now. And it is still a 1-1 game through 2. An entertaining game here to start the action in the CMAX Premier League.
Yeah, these two teams only played the one game. Both had a bye in the first 2 weeks. And the winner of this game will climb up the ladder, you know, potentially into 3rd, 4th position by the end of this weekend, with some big games coming up today. Obviously, West Torrens playing at the 4 o'clock time slot. Who are you playing against?
We are playing Walkerville, yep.
And then you've also, the final game of the day is Port Adelaide versus Glenelg. Yeah, so 1 game each, 1 loss. They've both only scored the 2 runs coming into today's game. And so a win's really got to catapult them and probably get their season started.
Both teams just looking for some good vibes to get their season rolling.
Yep. I'm assuming they'll just be making sure if they, you know, win the wave, they'll win the day.
Aroha Munro will step back in. She's got 4 strikeouts of her own, 10 strikeouts through 2 innings combined between these 2 teams. Both teams scored their runs in the first inning. Both teams have got leadoff runners on, but haven't really been able to move them around other than in that first dig.
Yeah, and I'm appreciating the work of the young catchers as well. Just a couple of grommets behind the plate and, you know, some experienced pitchers on the stripe. Really doing well for both teams, these young catchers.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before, Georgia King catching to Grace Rickson. If she's calling, and it looks like she is, this, you know, the pitches in this game, she's done a fantastic job to find Rickson's sweet spots and actually get those sequences going.
First pitch strike for Munro. Delivering that to Bianca Pash behind the plate.
Maddie Rocher in the box there with the newest model of the Eastern Ghost bat.
Awkward one.
Pash charging hard on it.
It's a bit of a pull cue, one of those shots. When it comes off the right end of the bat, just a little pull cue.
Well, any more of that Eastern Ghost, and it obviously would have sailed, and you can get your Eastern Ghost, Port Road, Woodville, MC Sportswear, your softball specialist.
We've neglected to also mention how wonderful the weather is today.
Yeah, a little offshore breeze coming across at about 20 degrees.
It's really quite nice softball weather.
Yeah, it's quite still. A little bit of offshore breeze, but the waves would probably be at West Beach famously probably 1 or 2 centimetres.
It's very clean conditions for a softball game as that one slips away from Pash.
Yeah, it's a tough one when they're popped straight up like that, especially for a young catcher on Diamond 1. Becky Havas did well to actually make it there as well to try and support her, but just drops in the middle.
She took a great one last week, didn't she? Becky Havas just came out of first base to take one that just Pash lost the sight of. So
it was one of those CMAX maximum effort moments. Flared again in foul territory. Havas having a look, but a little too far for her.
Rocha's got 9 lives in this at-bat.
They're the most dangerous at-bats, though. A couple of, sort of miscommunicated drops or whatever it may be. This is often where softball karma comes back to bite you, potentially. So we'll see if Rocha can find her way on base. Right idea there, to be honest, though. A change-up pitch. Right idea, right call.
Fouled off a couple pitches. And again, good batter. She's battling away here. She's tipped off, what, 4 or 5 foul balls in this at-bat? Just waiting for something that she can take for a ride.
Having a really good team at-bat, though, as well. The more pitches you see, the less, hopefully, the next batter in line has to see.
Had a crack at it, and again fouled behind.
Just seems she's a little bit early. Sorry to cut you off, James. She's just a smidge bit early on a couple of these pitches. She's staying off the one she should, but just needs to drive that top hand a bit flatter through the ball.
I was just going to say it was a good point of yours, Lana. The more Araha pitches, we saw her sort of fade out a little, or Port Adelaide third time through the lineup really got a hold of her later in the game. So you're right with the amount of pitches.
Rocher to the deep infield. Ashley Carr leaps back and ends a very lengthy battle between Rocher and Munro. Munro ultimately wins it, but it feels like a bit of a victory for Hills Heat as well.
Now, a good track by Carr to get back and sort of secure that catch. Brings up Abby Jorgensen, who, as we spoke about her stats last year as a younger, more rookie player in this competition, were very, very good. Really high on base average. She's got a good eye for good pitches, and is a confident batter. So, yeah. Sometimes the more pitches the person in front of you sees, potentially the more tired the pitcher can get, and you hopefully will get a flatter pitch as the next batter up. So it's really good to see Jorgensen go after an early strike.
25 hits last year, and 22 of them were singles.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a lot of hits.
But just a good example of keeping the game simple, getting on base, using your tools, using your speed. She took a big hack there, though.
Yeah, she did. It's good to see probably a little bit high out of her zone, but it's good to see that she's hungry and she's hunting the ball.
I think she's an exceptional lead-off batter. I mean, her stats prove it, but there is a stat on that sheet 7 RBIs for the year. Batting average with runners in scoring position 471. You'd be tempted to get someone else to be lead off and maybe hit her 2 or 3 and give her an opportunity to score more runs for a team.
However, she's also a quick base runner. So if she gets on, she gets scored, she can then run again.
Another strikeout. That's number 5 of the day, and that was just a tasty pitch that caught the edge. There wasn't much Jorgensen could do with that.
I would argue it wasn't tasty. I would argue it was dirty.
Dirty, yeah,
It's a dirty pitch.
Georgia Ballard steps into the plate, second on the team last year in walks. As a team, last year, Hills had 53 walks is what they were. Georgia Hood had 18 of them. Next closest was 10 with Georgia Ballard, and the rest were just kind of scattered. So if you're looking for probably an area of improvement for the Heat is how can they find ways to get more base on balls, a bit more patient, get on base. But Ballard with 10 of those walks last year, not her issue at all.
Someone like Georgia Hood, though, she barely gets struck out, right? So she's either going to hit you long, and if she hits a ground ball, it's going to be very hard, a very tough ground ball to field. So sometimes walks for Georgia Hood, probably not the worst case scenario.
2 strikeouts last year, Georgia Hood.
She's mental.
18 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Some of those surely intentional. Can you tell that from the stat
Yeah,
sheet?
I ended up combining really. She had 5 intentional walks and 13 normal walks.
Base on balls.
That's
Yeah, base on
hectic.
balls.
See, she's a better one to. She is a good one to walk. Unfortunately, she'd hate me saying that because she'd rather hit a big kahuna. But no.
Oh, nobody else last season on Hills got intentionally walked.
Well, you only need one person to get
Yeah.
intentionally walk, really.
Yeah, if you can only intentionally walk one, you're probably using that bullet on a Georgia Hood.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But Georgia Ballard here again.
Battling.
Monroe's got 2 outs here, but Hills have made her work for those outs so far, haven't they?
Absolutely. Tough, really fouling off all of those outside pitches.
In play. It was a tricky one, and it knocks off the leg of Vergara, and Ballard is going to stand on 2.
Not a criticism because it was a great effort from Vergara, went to the backhand side, but you can see in the CMAX replay, she's inside the line. No need to be inside the line with no runners on base. And Ballard, who put the ball through her legs the first time, has hit it off her right foot this time.
Yeah, and sees herself in the same spot.
So we have a moment for Grace Rickson. 2 outs, runner in scoring position, and she's got 6 strikeouts in the circle, by the way, does Grace. A moment for the Newcastle native to put her team in front.
Newcastle native. That's a good one.
Look
Ooh.
at Ballard, she's going to take off on the throw here.
And she somehow slides in safely on the
She's so
delay.
cheeky around the bases, isn't she, Ballard?
She's quick. Mental that she stopped. So she's let off a very large lead off, waiting for the throw to go back to the pitcher, and decides once the catcher's spotted her to still run to 3. But that's the beauty of sliding, everybody. You should always be sliding or diving in those situations. You're more often than not going to get safe.
Good look at the CMAX replay. Now, important because she's capitalized off a couple pass balls in the first inning, including one to help score that eventually led to them scoring a run, off a pass ball. So that's crucial that she gets over to 3rd because it just puts more pressure on a young catcher in Bianca Pash.
Well, it also sets Rickson up for potentially, all she needs to do now is hit a sac fly.
With 2 outs, the old 2-out sac fly, but instead it'll be a pass ball, just as we said on the walk, and it will score a run regardless.
You can sacrifice the fly in a gap. Doesn't need to necessarily be caught. It does actually, never mind me.
I'll try and save you here, Lana. That was only the first walk for Monroe and the Tigers. I think with the pitches that Pash is missing, they're all up. So if she's calling them up, she's got to just set herself up just a little bit higher. And for a young catcher, I mean, You need to be told those things.
Absolutely, but it's also a learning curve. We've seen lots of young players in the competition this year with all the clubs having a team back, which is fantastic. Players are only going to get better. I mean, Glenelg's a great example of that. Oh my God.
Big knock to left field from Megan Williams. It'll advance the runner to third. Grace Rickson is going to wander around third base, step home. It's a triple for Megan Williams, and it's a 3-1 lead for the Hills Heat.
Didn't she drive that hard? She got one in the wheelhouse, rips it left side.
Is that going to go down as the first hit of the game off Munro?
Yep.
I'd say so. Yep. There you go.
CMAX
What a shot!
replay.
What a shot from Megan Williams down the line, perfectly past the left fielder, and she doesn't turn the motors off. She was always running for third, I think, on that one.
Broken and open a little bit, haven't they? 2 runs in the top of the third.
A few big moments with 2 outs. The
Also
walk,
a long inning too. Sorry to cut you off.
and they had the walk, and then they had the big triple and a few lengthy at-bats. Just making the Tigers work for it.
Oh,
Now,
Steve.
Georgia King, deep. Blight moving back. It's over her head. It's a 4-1 lead for Hills, and it's an RBI double for Georgia King.
She had 2 massive hits in this game. The first one was caught, you know, repeated message from last week. Most of these runs have come with 2 out as well.
This is really is the definition of a 2-out rally, really. Just giving 0 cares and having a crack, swinging the bat, something early. Lots of these hits are now coming earlier in an at bat as well, maybe to try and avoid the earlier K2 run that
First
Munro
pitch
had.
swing, it's an awkward one, and it drops in between Tomkinson and Carr, and another run will score. So in a hurry, this game went from tight to a 4-run lead from Hills.
Yeah, CMAX replay as a timeout's been called, just drops into no man's land there in between the second base and right fielder. So 3 consecutive hits off the back of a walk and an error with 2 out. So bang, 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 just like that. So thanks to CMAX for that replay. Want to help advance tomorrow's healthcare? You get paid for your time. Log into cmax.com.au.
4 runs here in the 3rd inning for Hills.
And all of these, they got the first 2 batters out. I think that's probably going to be the biggest kicker for them. They had 2 out. They only need to get 1 more, and then the next 5 batters have found themselves on base.
First pitch swing again
She's
from
fouled it
Larissa.
into herself. She's okay by the looks of things.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tumultuous start for the Hills in this game. Even in this inning, a couple quick outs.
Played umpire caught as well, Mike Bendel. We'll go around the umpires thanks to MK Services SA in a moment. But just checking up on the goofy footer there in the left-handed batter's box.
2 lefties in 1 lineup. Well,
They've really tightened their zones now.
a great display of patience here in this inning for Hills. Long at bats, fouling a few away. Just letting some waves wash over them before they've dropped in for a big ride, and that's got them 4 runs to put them up by 5-1.
I said we'll go around the umpires thanks to MK Services SA. It is Mike Bendel on plate, Peter Fairley at first, and Ian Gray at third. So far, so good. No blemishes for the Blues so far in this game.
Blemishes. Love that. Stung her on the outside there.
5 strikeouts still today from Munro. I'm not too sure. We'll have to look at the scorebook. I don't think any of her runs are earned, though.
I can see red. We might even have to check in with the ladies to our left.
Yeah, I think it's red across the board. All unearned runs. And she gets her 6th strikeout here in the 3rd inning. So Munro having a good game, but her team now down by 4 runs, and they'll need a bit of a rally of their own in the bottom of the 3rd.
Yeah, what a rally from the Hills Heat there. Just back-to-back extra base hits as well, putting the pressure on, hitting the ball really hard, and, you know, a few of them obviously over the head of people. Some of them just putting the ball into play, creating some pressure. Yeah, the Tigers did a good job to, I mean, hold some of those extra base hits to less than, you know, home runs, but they've got now a large chase ahead of them.
Hills struggled to put runs on the board in the last half of last season, so the fact that they've got 5 runs, they've capitalized off a pitcher that's going very well, no earned runs and 6 strikeouts, that's going to be a big confidence builder for this Hills team going forward too.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top that a clean sheet as far as it goes on as a scorecard is going to be positive for both these teams, and on this occasion it's been Hills that have given up the 1 green run, and whereas Seacombe have just let themselves down a little bit defensively. But you know what? These kids will keep building and building, and the confidence will grow. So, yeah, well, let's see what the rest of the season holds for both these teams.
Still lots to go in this ball game in particular. It's an hour-and-a-half game, so we still only got, what, 40 minutes to go in this game. Still a few innings to work with, and Seacombe, when they've put the ball in play, it's gone a distance, but 6 strikeouts right now for Grace Rickson in the circle in her CMAX Premier League debut. Only the 1 hit, 1 run allowed, or 2 hits, 1 run allowed so far, rather. Back to the top of the lineup, Rosa Vergara. She led things off with a single in the first inning and later scored. That was the tying run in the first. It was 1-1. 4 runs, all with 2 outs in that last half of that inning. Have Seacombe behind 5-1.
Cracking shot to get things going for the Tigers in the first.
Oof.
She is finding those edges today.
That was a tight, very, very tight inside pitch. Looks like it's going to come straight at you, but just hugs the plate. Great control.
Fouled away again. 6 outs, 6 strikeouts.
Georgia King, I mentioned earlier, but she really is calling a really great game behind the plate. Good pitches at good times. I'm thinking she'll probably go something off pace on the outside here, potentially.
Ball put in play. Megan Williams across the diamond. It was low, and Daniels picked it clean.
Great pickup from Daniels. Williams got a very kind second bounce. It came chest height.
Yeah.
So that transition from the glove and into the throwing hand was nice and easy.
Right in there, yeah, right there.
She actually read it really well. If she attacked that anymore, it probably would have skinned past her chin. But the fact that she read that and sat back to make a good play and a good pickup by Daniels, 1 out on the board.
Well, the defense is finally involved for Hills Heat. Other than Georgia King catching behind the plate, they haven't had much to do in the field this game. The 6 previous outs, all strikeouts. Jazz Blight.
Infield inside the line for Jazz Blight. Obviously understanding she's a bit of a speed demon around the bases, so they're making sure that they can get a quick release out.
It's the first of 3 games on tap today. We're streaming just the one of them in the CMAX Super League. Jazz Blight takes a quick moment. They can get Blight on base and have a runner for Becky Havis. Seacombe can start chewing their way back into this contest.
Starts with 1. Well, I mean, we saw that with the Hills. They were 2 out, scored the next 5. 4.
Full count.
It looks like Coach Annalie Dolman for the Tigers has really done a good job with a partly young, partly older or experienced side, really combining them. It looks like they are playing with a lot of confidence still. So that's a testament to her, obviously. sort of pumping them up and, you know, making sure they're staying aggressive in the box and giving each play a go.
Annalie Dolman, a first-year coach in the competition, just 29 years old. One of the younger ones in the coaches in the game. Came back from the States and overseeing this club that has obviously meant a lot to her in the ranks. Becky Havis has a base runner. Had the big triple last week. Runner is going. They're trying to force one in scoring position. And there's going to be a runner on second, maybe a runner on third. There'll be a throw. It'll come in too late. So some pressure on the base paths, and now just a ball to the outfield should put a run on the board for the Tigers.
CMAX clinical research replay, and we see Blight take off on the pitch. It's not a bad throw from King, just it tips the end of the glove of Williams, and Blight just showing a little flash of speed there, taking 2 bases on 1 play. Offensive pressure right on.
Becky Havis.
That's a long ball.
Left field to the wall. Doesn't have the distance. It drops in front. It's at least a double. It's going to be a triple for the 2nd straight week. And the Tigers showing some fight.
Well, that looked like a CMAX clinical research replay of last week's shot against Yo Grauer. She's just taken 2 Gilly Shield starting pitches of the final last year and hit them both for triples in Game 1 and Game 2 of their season.
She'd be spewing that didn't actually go over, actually. I think that hit the dental school sign on the full, almost. That looked like a moonshot.
She is really pushed her way up the ranks here in the local softball community.
3 home runs in the fully loaded competition in the preseason, including 2 grand slams in the final. And then 2 hits to start off the season, both triples, both RBI shots.
And it's almost the timing of both of them that have been so critical as Monroe steps up to bat. Last week it was a game that Seacombe were a little overwhelmed, you would say, in the game. They lost it by a big score, but they were looking for some positives, hadn't had a hit all game. To break up the no-hitter, it was that triple that scored 2 runs, and Seacombe leave the ground feeling good about something. And today, when her team absolutely needs a run to get back in the game and keep it in touch, she delivers. Monroe delivered the RBI single, or the RBI double rather, back in the 1st inning to tie the game up at 1 at the time. Wouldn't another base hit go down a treat here?
Well, she's going after it. Already had 1 big swing.
They've started the rally. Oh, that's unlucky. That is a great pitch.
Real good pitch from Rickson with 1 out. Seacombe have got a huge opportunity here to bring in another run at 3rd base there. Must capitalise.
Jammed just a little bit on an inside pitch from Grace Rickson.
Great support coming from her Hills Heat teammates as well, really getting behind her in this situation. They're probably quite thankful now they had a few runs buffer, I think, coming into this inning.
And these Tigers aren't going anywhere. Big swing, big miss. Strikeout number 7 for Rickson.
Timeout called.
Dolman out, maybe to make a quick change.
Might be in the hitting lineup. We've got Michaela Pearson due up, but it looks like Bryony Pearson coming in for a pinch hit.
It is Bryony Pearson.
Well, the change for the Seacombe Tigers, thanks to Dental for Schools, of course. Let's make SA smile. Great new partner for the Seacombe Softball Club.
Bryony's first at-bat of the season. We're only in game number 2, but
What better time to come in? 2-out rally, runner on, could do a cheeky RBI here.
It's how Hills Heat scored 4 of their runs with a 2-out rally in the last inning. It was 2 out, nobody on, and they turned that into an error, a walk, and 3 straight hits and 4 straight runs on the board. Just trying to stay patient.
Good to see a couple of pitches. Neither of them have been in the slot. One's caught the edge. Not bad so far.
Gets her to chase that one. 2 strikes.
Coach Dolman just encouraging her to choke up on the bat, hold the handle a little bit closer to the barrel so you can maybe get the bat through on an inside pitch.
Strikeout number 8 of the day for Grace Rickson. Becky Havis does deliver another run in form of a massive triple off the left field wall. So the Tigers get one back, but they still trail by 3 after 3 in CMAX Premier League action. And Lana, you've got to say adios.
I do.
You've got a game coming up. You're playing Walkerville.
We are.
What's the tip on Walkerville? What's the Eags strategy today?
Oh, Eag's strategy, as always, is just to try and, you know, get some runs, make some outs.
When in doubt, paddle out.
Absolutely. And, you know, do you know what? As much as I'm looking forward to playing Walkerville, I am looking forward to seeing a very smiley, very bushy-haired, happy larrikin back from the Netherlands, which is Chelsea Robinson. So I think she'll be back.
She in the lineup today?
I would assume so.
Straight in, surely.
Surely. She's pretty eager. So, no, I'm pretty keen to maybe throw some smack around with her on the diamond, see how we go.
Lana Kaesler, thanks for joining us. If you want to make your way down to the diamond, you can go and catch 2 more games in the CMAX Premier League this afternoon. West Torrens and Walkerville, and then what could be a very entertaining matchup tonight, Port Adelaide. Stars pitcher, Port Adelaide, with Yo Grauer going against Stars pitcher from Glenelg and Jade Peterson. And if you've been watching softball, Jade Peterson here, if you're new to the softball community, she's like a Steph Gilmore, right? She's been around for a long time, and then she just keeps coming back to win that elusive championship. Finally got it with the Stars in this last year. So
That's a perfect analogy, I think. Yeah, well done. She's just been around dominating and then gets that championship. Well, a lot of
the one that she wanted.
It's been elusive for SA for, I don't know if you know, 66 years, but...
well, 66 years. Isn't it been 6 months?
Yeah, it has now, yeah.
Peyton Daniels batting.
Well, I was just going to say Lana's game, Walkerville versus West Torrens. Robert Ladle wrote in today's advertiser, that this is game of the round, and you know you probably would expect that with Michaela Yankovic in top form for Walkerville, and the return. Well, the paper of the article was about one person, wasn't it? It was all about the secret weapon and the return of Jordan Harris. So I might have to introduce myself to her one day. Great return, 3 for 3, couple double
Batting
plays in the
1,000.
field. Yeah,
Think she was keen to come back on the diamond?
couple RBIs as well, I think. Here's Peyton Daniels.
I don't think it's a secret weapon, though. I think it was a weapon of mass destruction that they didn't have last year.
No.
And that WMD is back.
Well, a welcome return. A secret weapon would be a return of a player without anyone knowing, you would think. But I think it was always sure that she was going to come back.
Peyton Daniels battling away. Flew out in her first at-bat back in the second inning. They've been working these counts full. In play, over at first, and Havis makes an easy play, steps on the bag.
Yeah, she's been real important for this Seacombe lineup, hasn't she, already? Like, just showing that she's probably their #1 player in offense, but in defense, solid as a rock over at first base. Can play the other corner as well at third, but looks like she's found a nice spot there.
Maddie Rocher Swings at the first pitch. Nice grab by Mutzi at third. Over to Havas, and that's a nice defensive play.
Sharp chance from the Tigers. 2 quick outs, and they get the opportunity for a short inning. Still got to make that third one.
Well, that's how it all started last inning. First 2 outs were retired, and then Ballard reached on an error. Rickson walked, and then hits to Williams, King, and Lamke scored 4 runs for the Hills in their half of the third inning, and that's why, in part, they have a 5-2 lead. But these Tigers aren't quitting, are they?
No, they've been exceptionally good in parts. Particularly Munro, 6 Ks already in the game. 2 of them against this hitter, Jorgensen.
I think you're going to see Seacombe get a lot better as this year goes on, too. They're going to be a tough beat.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they upset a couple of teams as well.
Just with a few errors today, the real question is will they beat themselves in some of those games? If they can clean up a couple of those things, and it's a young team returning to the A-grade side, remember. There's a few things to like about this Seacombe team.
Yeah.
Munro being one of them. 6 strikeouts so far.
They've probably been unlucky today in that they've run into Grace Rickson, the game that Heels decide to bring in a player from New South Wales before their import arrives, and they're one of 2 clubs in the competition that aren't bringing in a player from overseas or interstate.
The other one being West Torrens, but they brought in a player from maternity leave. Does that count?
No, like you said about 5 seconds ago, it was
Weapon of mass destruction.
is always coming back into the lineup. Yeah, Sturt bringing in Ladner. Port Adelaide have got catcher coming in to catch to Yo Grower.
Hills have an import on their way too.
On their way. Walkerville's already got one. The other one's due to come in.
Jorgensen to left field. Goes foul.
And if you do come down to West Beach Parks to see the Glenelg versus Port Adelaide game, you'll see Katie, I can't think of her last name, a new player relocated to Adelaide. So I don't think you can count it as an import, but lived in the States her whole life and relocated to Adelaide, making her debut. From all reports, she's a gun. She plays in the corners, but they'll also bring in a second import for just to support Jade throughout the season.
Jorgensen, after a lengthy at-bat, finds a hole on the left side of the diamond, and look at that speed as she slides into second.
She was there in a hurry as well. Probably didn't need to slide in. Let's have a look at the CMAX replay. Just ripped it, didn't she? Vergara probably just playing a little bit in again, isn't she? With no runners on the line with a hitter that pulls the ball hard.
Same thing happened in the last inning, didn't it? Time now starting to become a little bit of a factor. Only about 15 minutes to go. There might be a delayed one. There was a moment of silence at the beginning of the game for Ian Chapman, one of the club legends at Seacombe, who sadly passed away. So our thoughts with the whole Seacombe softball community. They had the moment of silence, and they have that black armband today in his honor.
Just got the word from the statisticians to our left. Lindy and Julie started at 2:03 after that moment silence for Chappie.
So 3:28 is when there will be no new innings, so about 18 minutes. So it's still lots of time, but Tigers need to get this out quickly so they can ensure they have a couple cracks at it with the bat. Ballard jammed a little bit. It gets above Vergara, who is leaping up. Jorgensen will score easily, and it's an RBI double. And again, all of their runs today have really come with 2 outs.
Yeah, just bounces on the dirt. You can't do anything about that for Vergara, even if she was fielding a little deeper, like I mentioned the play before. May have still beaten the glove there. Here comes Rickson, and she's had a K and a walk. I think she'll be swinging here because they've got a handy lead.
Yeah, it's still a 4-run lead. But the nail in Georgia Ballard is on second base, and Grace Rickson has the hammer in hand. Looking to seal this one up. I figure 5 is just going to be maybe too much. And Rickson knows it.
Well, Pash knows that Ballard has been cheeky on the bases today, so she gets out there in a hurry.
And she scored
the throw as well to fake the throw.
She scored twice on pass balls today, Georgia Ballard. Rickson to center field. Blight backs up, it's over her head, and it's another run for Hills. Rickson will stand on third. She's got an RBI, and it's a 7-2 lead.
3 hits in a row, very reminiscent of the previous inning. All of them extra bases, the last 2 bringing in runs. The Hills are now in run rule territory here. What is it, 7-2? Oh, well, they still need a couple more, I think. What, am I right there? 7-2?
Yeah, 7-2. 4th inning, though. A couple more hits, though.
Yep.
But just like the 3rd inning, they got the first 2 outs, Seacombe did, and then it was an error walk and 3 straight hits that scored 4 runs in the 3rd. This time it was out, out, hit, hit, hit. Multi-base hits for Jorgensen, Ballard, and Rickson. 7 runs on the board for Hills, and that top part of the lineup, Jorgensen, Ballard, Rickson, Williams, and King, have been damaging, haven't they?
Yeah, they've all been aggressive with their sticks as well, and then extra bases. You just cannot let up against the Hills when you're in defense, because they're all looking for that extra base. Double for Jorgensen, double for Ballard. She took a couple of bases on those errors as well that she's got on from the first 2 times. A triple from Rickson, a double from Williams, a double from Georgia King. So all but one of their hits have been extra bases.
Megan Williams, she had an extra base hit in the last inning that scored a run.
That's going to stay in.
That has spun around. It scored a run, and she's safe at first.
Well, the split second's going to count here, and Pash will take a look at this one and think, why didn't I pick it up with the bare hand? It is spinning on the spot by the time she gets to it, but she decides to go with it with the glove, and then in that transition, have a look at that off the end of the bat. You hate seeing them as a hitter.
Reminiscent of the ball whisperer Belle White in the grand final of the Open Women's Nationals.
And that run scored as well on that play.
Georgia King knocks it away. So an 8-2 game now for Hills. They've scored 4 runs.
The third?
In the 3rd. 3 now.
And they've all come with 2 outs as well.
Sorry, I just died a little right there.
Well, that's something that Seacombe will have to look at. They've gave up a few runs with 2 outs over the last 2 games, or the 2 games they've played so far, and late in the game as well.
Georgia King is swinging a hot stick, too. She had that huge shot in the 2nd inning to center field that was in and out of the glove of Jazz Blight, and then the huge double that really was that difference-making double in the 3rd inning. And now can add another run. She's caught a great game behind the plate. She'd be a nominee for the CMAX Clinical Performer of the Game.
Yeah, there's a few of them in contention. You'd probably say Rickson now with an RBI triple, a walk, and 8 strikeouts in 3 innings of work would be up there as well. But you can't pitch all those strikeouts without a tremendous young catcher behind the plate. So, yeah, you're right. The battery for the Hills have been the difference.
Georgia King might need a hit here to keep herself in contention for that CMAX Clinical Performer of the Game. Megan Williams to 2nd. And crucially, the time is just
ticking away.
ticking away. And if they can get another run here, that would put them in the run roll, wouldn't it?
Yep. Well, they'll probably only give. No, because Seacombe get the
Seacombe still have to
second.
bat.
They get the
but
last
if they
turn
don't
at bat.
score, yeah. But they first, Hills need to bring another run across play.
Yeah, for the 5th inning though. 15
after
after
4.
3, 10 after 4, 7 after 5 is run rule.
So I don't think run roll is actually. Just ignore everything I just talked
Yeah,
about.
with only about 15 minutes of play to go.
Just rewind it and erase it. Delete. King chops through it, so a strikeout, the 7th of the day for Aroha Munro, but another 3 runs across the plate, all with 2 outs, and you figure that might just be too tough of a task for the Tigers. Still some outs to work with, but 6 runs is a big old comeback.
Magnificent alliteration for that. Yeah, 8-2, middle of the 4th is the scoreline, and it's been too damaging. The last 2 innings have been the damage for the Tigers, and they really need to respond. We saw Becky Havas last inning with the big RBI. They've got to really look to their bottom half of the order to keep them in this game.
Bottom half of the order, a walk and 3 strikeouts so far. Tompkinson, Carr, and Pash. Couple defensive changes, I think, in the field.
Yeah, we'll listen out for these changes, but Sturt's Softball Club are the team with the bye today, so they'll remain 2 games played, 2 wins, 4 points. West Torrens have played 2 games. They play Walkerville today. A win today will take them to top of the table, but Walkerville, get a win here, pinch a win here, they could go into the top 2 today as well. So a lot on the line in game of the day coming up, 4 o'clock. Get down to West Beach for that game, West Torrens versus Walkerville.
So it looks like Peyton Daniels is going to move over to 3rd. Georgia Ballard, who is at 3rd, is going to go to 2nd. And it's Alex Mackey coming in to play 1st. So she comes in for Talia LaRosa, and then a couple of defensive substitutions after that.
A handy little replacement there, bringing in Alex Mackey. She's always pretty handy with bat in hand and a fairly clean glove at first. Plenty of experience both as a player and a coach, so great leadership for that Hills Heat team.
Well, she's one of the captains of this team and a big heart and soul player in the Hills softball program and community in general, you would say. I think she's coached the under-16s at Hills as well.
Coached the state under-18s last year. Was at the Softball SA inaugural community coach of the year when she was part of the Dragons and coaching rep sides at the Hills Softball Association, and an assistant coach at 2 state teams in 1 year.
It's a lot. She likes her softball.
Loves it.
Tompkinson, Carr, Pash. 2 kids and one who's been bumped up to A grade from playing in a C grade team last year when Seacombe didn't have an A grade side.
You look at this Hills infield, all 4 of them have previously played for Seacombe as well. Megan Williams at her 4th club. She's also played at Port Adelaide and Walkerville. But Daniels, Mackey, and Ballard, and look at it at left field as well for Rocha. All of them had played at Seacombe at some stage in their career.
Well, Seacombe lost 9 players over the last couple years from A grade. Jade Peterson's at Glenelg, Jess Maslin at Port Adelaide. Don't forget Sasha Penblaze.
Normally in the Hills team.
Yeah. Jenny Dunn's retired. Tamika Penblaze is retired. Peyton Daniels, Sophie Kinnear,
Jenny
Cara
Dunn
Schultz.
has not retired. She's playing C grade.
Oh, she's playing, is she? Well, she's retired from A grade.
A grade retirement, okay.
Swing and a miss, that's strikeout number 9.
Wow. 9 out of 10 outs.
A lot of outs from that team from 2-3 years ago. It's a completely different Seacombe team than you'd remember. So all these players are trying to carve out their own story for the Tigers. And you can feel it. They're close. It's such a game of small margins, isn't it? It's 8-2. But look at how the Hills have scored their runs. They've allowed 6 hits with 2 outs in the game so far. That's accounted for 6 of their runs. Some pass balls and an error have put them behind early, but if they can just make 1 out at that timely time, then all of a sudden maybe this is a 4-2 game and they're right into it.
Yeah, got to be tidy in defense when you're playing in the Premier League because the big teams will make you pay. And Hills, it could be a sign of their season to come. They have made the Tigers pay for their mistakes. So good signs for the Hills. Learning opportunities for the Tigers, you'd say.
Carr watches it outside. But it just shows how those little things make a big difference, right? 1 out, and maybe it's not 8-2. But getting that out is hard at this level. So that out will come. I'm quite confident in that.
Yeah, Vergara at shortstop, you know, she'll start to get a feel for this dirt infield. We haven't seen her in the Premier League before, so all her experience has been on grass diamonds.
And what difference does that make?
It's definitely a different bounce. You get more of an even bounce on the grass, and you never know what you're going to get on this dirt. It plays best with a lot of moisture, and it looks like a different colour when there is that moisture in the diamond. It looks like a sandy colour here today, so probably could have done with a little bit of water prior, but we see strikeout number 10.
10 strikeouts for Grace Rickson. She's also got the RBI triple. She's in pole position for that CMAX clinical performer of the game.
Another offensive change, and in the time that it's going to take for this change and then to get through this batter, it could be the last inning.
Still about 5 minutes to go, but we'll see what clock the umpires have.
Yep.
This is Briellen Dunn.
See the Hills heat on screen, getting the hurry along from plate umpire Bendel. But they're in no hurry. Look at them just dawdling back to their positions.
What, the Hills players,
in front, yeah. You know, I'd almost be keen for another bat myself. So you get a quick out here, and you can have that fifth inning and 4th time through the lineup potentially. Once you start an inning, we complete it. Dunn goes first pitch.
Yeah, or on the other school of thought is, do you find a way to waste a bit of time and you maybe walk a batter, pitch a couple outside, eat up a couple minutes, and then know you have 6 runs and just 1 runner on and go from there?
Yeah, with
gamesmanship.
With the 9-hitter due up.
Chop straight up. King having a look. Goes off the netting and into her glove. So Briellen Dunn still chipping away. Some good encouragement coming from the Seacombe dugout.
Yeah, they're not giving up just yet.
That's one of the big things that we've heard reports of from Coach Dolman, is just trying to keep that positivity going, that big inclusive nature here. And a strikeout. It's 11 on the day for Grace Rickson.
Or was on the plate umpire. Yep.
And they've called time of game. So 11 strikeouts. It was a close game to start. It was 1-0 after a first inning run that Hills scored, but the Tigers tied it at 1. And then it wasn't until that 3rd inning where 4 runs crossed the plate, all with that big string of 2-outs hits for Hills Heat.
But they weren't out of it, though, were they? The triple from Becky Haver scored Jazz Blight, who got on from a well-earned walk.
But they pulled away with 4 straight hits, all with 2 outs in the 4th inning to score another 3 runs and make it an 8-2 game. Production top to bottom of the lineup really for Hills, but You really do have to say, I hope I'm not out of line in saying CMAX clinical performer has to be Grace Rickson with 11 strikeouts in that triple.
11 strikeouts, a triple, and RBI. She crossed the plate twice as well. Probably the only blemish was a strikeout in the first inning. But cap off to Araha Munro as well, because she threw her own game today. She threw 8 strikeouts herself, so 7 strikeouts herself. So pretty good effort from both pitchers today. But you're right, Grace Rickson stand out. Well done to Georgia King behind the plate as well. Had an RBI and a couple of good shots herself throughout the game. But overall, you look through that batting order and that scorecard for the Hills, and they all contributed.
Hills are on the board, though. They have their first 2 premiership points of the CMAX Premier League season, and they're kind of knotted up right now with Port Adelaide and Walkerville. Very early days, but they're 1-1 to start the year. You'd take that.
Yeah, 1-1 for the Hills, and their season's off and running now, so they'll go into contention into the top 4. Seacombe, not too far away if they can start putting together, I was going to say 7-inning performances, but 90-minute performances, and they could take it to any of the top teams in this comp.
That'll do it for us for round 3 of the CMAX Premier League. Come down to the ballpark. You can check out a couple of the later games today. On behalf of Lana Kaesler, James Harris, producer Brandon, everyone at Spacequake Sports, this is us saying see you later.